baseball. So, Ariel, before we dive into K props and everything you've got going for the slate, have you ever had a moment sitting in traffic where you wanted to say either I effing hate this place or you wanted to throw something?
Oh, in traffic, it's a little different. But here's the thing. I'll tell you guys the way that I felt about the I effing hate this place. I was sitting in my apartment in Manhattan, 2 days ago. I got a text from my mom, please don't take the subways today. I said, what are you talking about? She sends me the link. Saw the whole thing about the shooting in the subway in Brooklyn. There was a potential bomb on the train. That's when I said, I effing hate this place. It's like 9 a.m. And that's how my day started. Yeah. Thanks, New York. Appreciate it.
Man, it's been a tough world lately. Everywhere you go, it's depressing headlines. And that's why it's nice to kind of have an escape when it comes to sports and when it comes to betting on sports. And Ariel, you've been cash money on your props so far this season from what I've seen on Twitter. So let's look at today's slate. And for me, one of the ones that stood out to me, stunning Dane Dunning of the Texas Rangers going against the Angels today. I think there's a play on I'm going to say his name again. Stunning Dane Dunning. I know his name's Dane Dunning, but I like saying stunning. So is there a play you like here on the Rangers starting pitcher?
There is, and I'm glad that you have a nice play on words there. Also, shout out to Chelsa. I'm sorry I got these plays in late because, of course, you got to wait for the K-prop numbers to come out. It's all a numbers game when betting K-props. For the Texas Rangers right-handed pitcher, Dane Dunning, I'm going under 4.5 strikeouts. The Angels do have the third highest K rate at 27%. However, that number drops to 21.5% when facing righties, which ranks 21st in Major League Baseball. Dunning's a righty. Starters are averaging just under 6 strikeouts per start against Texas, but they're averaging just over 4 strikeouts per start when facing a right-handed pitcher. Dunning's 4 Ks in 5 innings in his first outing leads me to wanting to bet the under 4.5 strikeouts.
KJ, do you have a question you want to ask?
Well, no, I'm wondering. It's interesting. I like that play because when you have power bats like you do if you're the Angels, you've always mostly faced right-handed hitting your entire career. So even though right-handers tend to do better against left-handed pitchers, that the whole cross-pollination thing, you've always been used to some teams like a Mike Trout who's a line drive hitter or a Tani who's a left-handed hitter who can hit for bombs. It makes a lot of sense. I like the angle on that play where, hey, these guys can really mash against right-handed pitching, and I could easily see that. I like that right there.
All right, so let's move on to some of the other plays that you got on the menu today. Looking at the starting pitcher for the Mariners, Logan Gilbert, I think there's another K-prop you got for us.
There is, and this one's at 2:10 p.m. Eastern time. The Seattle Mariners right-hander, Logan Gilbert, I'm betting is under 5.5 strikeouts. The Chicago White Sox have been one of my favorite trends to watch so far. We just cashed on this last night against Robbie Ray, where I bet his under. The White Sox have the lowest K rate at just over 15%. They also have the 5th lowest K rate against right-handed pitchers at 17%. 3 out of the 4 pitchers who have started against Chicago have gone under their strikeout prop. Gilbert did have 7 against Minnesota. That's deceiving, though, because the Twins have the highest K rate against right-handed pitchers so far this year. After looking at last year, when Gilbert went up against a team that ranked bottom 10 in lowest K rates in the league, he really didn't go over this that much. He only went over it once out of 7 games. Only once. Now, granted, this is going to be a really close call. He had a lot of 5 strikeout games in those games. Under 5.5 strikeouts, it's a numbers play. He may have 5. You may be sweating this out a lot. Gilbert under 5.5, though, is the play, not the over.
All right, so what is your take on the Walker Buehler K line? What do you see in that right there on the Joe Musgrove?
I really like the value for Walker Buehler because it's in plus money, betting the over 5.5 strikeouts. Cincinnati is the 6th highest K rate in baseball, 2nd highest against righties. Buehler's a righty. Right-handed pitchers they've had success against Cincinnati. Now, granted, Buehler only had 5 in his first start. That was at Colorado. Last year, one of my favorite trends was betting unders in Colorado because just with the altitude and everything, strikeouts were really at a minimum. So now Walker Buehler's going home in LA, where he had an ERA just above a 2 last year. His ERA on the road was just above a 3, so he plays much better at home. He also, in 8 out of 13 games last season, went over this number of 5.5 strikeouts against teams with a top 10 K rate. He had 10 against Cincinnati in LA last season. Give me the over. 5.5 strikeouts and plus money on Walker Buehler. And the last one you mentioned was Joe Musgrove, over 5.5 strikeouts for the San Diego Padres right-hander. Atlanta has the 9th highest K rate against righties. Now, it does drop a bit overall, but I like the fact that it goes up against righties just by about 2%. Atlanta strikes out from their overall number to right-handed pitchers. Righties are averaging 5.8 strikeouts per start against Atlanta. Musgrove had 8 strikeouts in 6 innings against Arizona. Arizona ranks 18th overall and 11th against righties. So not saying that they are one of the less strikeout-prone teams. They're kind of in the middle. Now you're looking at a team like Atlanta, who's top 10 in K rate. It's not my favorite one. It is worth a look, though, at 5.5 to the over on Joe Musgrove, just by a strict numbers play, 5.8 strikeouts per start against Atlanta for righties.
Especially because Joe Musgrove is a strikeout pitcher. I think we can characterize him as having plus stuff. He's a guy that's thrown a no-hitter. And if I'm remembering correctly, the Braves were cash money when it came to strikeout props last season. Despite being a good lineup, they still struck out quite a bit. But here's my last question for you. When you're looking at a season that only has, 6 or 7 games, is it harder for you to look at these stats and think, oh, this is meaningful because it's such a small sample size?
Of course. That's why I'm still referring back to 2021 numbers. With these strikeout props, I'm really trying to target a lot of the teams that were top 10 teams in K rate last year, like you mentioned with the Atlanta Braves. Atlanta was one of those more strikeout prone teams. So were the Chicago Cubs, so were the Milwaukee Brewers, Baltimore Orioles. Just remembering back to last season and what teams were good at hitting certain bets, taking that into now this year's numbers. Opening week's the toughest. We're getting through that second time through the rotation now. If I see that a pitcher had 5 strikeouts and they were on some kind of pitch count, then I'm willing to bet they're over again. Like yesterday, I bet the Shane Bieber over. I think it was yesterday, maybe 2 days ago. I think it was 2 days ago. I bet the second start for Bieber. So the first one I bet is under. Second start, I bet the over. It really should have cashed. He was 1 strikeout away. He just ended up giving up 3 runs in, I think it was like the 4th or 5th inning, but he was looking really good through that point. So yeah, you get burned on a few of those early in the year. However, there are certain pitchers where you can find value because the book is still acting as if it's so early in the year. But someone could surprise you, like a Clayton Kershaw yesterday, who, by the way, should have stayed in the game and pitched a perfect game, but whatever.
Ariel, one quick question. I have this philosophy that you really have to break the season down in like 27 games at a time, like in sixths. Do you find that the K rates tend to be higher earlier in the season under this guise of bats are slower to pick up? Do you find K rates to be easier to choose earlier in the season than, say, once you start getting to June, July?
100%. You're going to see much higher K rates right now than you're going to see in a few weeks from now. Usually K rates are between, like last year by the end of the season, the highest K rate was about 28%, I would say. Now you're seeing some in the 30% range, which is like, whoa. It's also because of just the numbers game that there's not as many as bats, there's not as many, all that kind of stuff factors in. But yes, 100% you see higher K rates earlier in the year. It will start to level out as we get midway through the season.
Right, because baseball is a large sample size sport. So sometimes some of these numbers you're seeing will not carry on throughout the entire season, but she will. Ariel Epstein and her plays will carry throughout the entire season. You can catch her on MLB Network's pregame spread, 5 Eastern on MLB Network, where she dishes her favorite plays and props for baseball. And also you can find her on Yahoo Sports, giving out plays for basketball, everything, baseball in between, and that's why they call her the Prop Queen. She is Ariel Epstein. You can find her on Twitter at Ariel Epstein. Ariel, thanks for waking up with us.